what we want to remember is that what happens to us is, and this is not to discount karma, and it's not to discount the lessons that can come out of looking at the situation of why we've suffered or why there's pain. But one of the things I think to understand, and it's also been my experience is that in the moment, it's usually not the best time to try to probe why. That question that Job was always asking. It's not our first priority. The first priority is why, maybe, but what? What am I going to do about it? How am I going to respond? Because in the moment of suffering, we're usually in a state where we're not really capable of making the best decisions and coming to the best conclusions. There comes a time when we look back, just as in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, oh, Sanjay, what did they on the battlefield? But you see, he's looking back after those events had passed. And then you learn your lessons and you think, okay. But in the moment, it's better to ask, what do I do about it? Years ago, there was early days, I remember Swami Kriyananda, we had a little bit of trouble here, paying our mortgage at that time. And the institution that held the mortgage was going to foreclose on the property and notified Swami that he had a very short period of time unless he paid a hefty sum. In those days was considered a hefty sum. We had very likelihood we could have lost the property. And Swamiji was at our early center in those days that we had in Sacramento. This was 1970, I think it was. We had a center there before Ananda Maria and the others that went down there. We had a very early one. And he was there with the two people that were running that center. And they said, oh, Swamiji, don't get upset. Don't, because Swami's saying, what, I just got this news. And he wasn't upset, but he was shocked, you might say, over the situation. And they said, oh, Swami, here, I'll make you some tea. Sit down, relax. Swami very vigorously said, tea? I don't want tea right now. I want to know, what am I going to do about this? And he immediately got on the telephone and he started making phone calls to be able to rustle up the ability to make that payment. And this is the response. You have a situation, what am I going to do about it? And move, like that gentleman in France, in a positive direction. Do whatever it takes that is in a positive motion. And one step in a positive direction will inevitably lead you to a second step. And you start to move in that direction, and then you can look back and you can think about it. And so this isn't to say to be able to respond or that there's not karma involved in this. Of course it is. There is karma involved in all suffering and things that happen. But what makes it a useful test and challenge versus something that's destructive, that causes us pain for perhaps a lifetime, and who knows how many lifetimes in the future? It's our response to how we respond to them. And responding in those qualities that were exhibited by Job. He was faithful to the end because he had faith that God's love, in God's love, it was through that love that gave him faith. And I think if we look at our own lives, in love, you could say that in love, faith is natural. Of course, it's that faith that of course God is going to help me. Of course God is going to be there at the time, at some point. His timing may always not be to our satisfaction, but the fact that in his time, God will be there. And He's there with me right now. Maybe I can't see him, I can't feel him, but I have that faith that God is there. And it's that my love will be there come what may. And I think this is the attitude that we need to go forward to face whatever test that comes to us. We're in God, and then in God we find that the solutions actually, He gives us also the solutions to whatever those tests may be. Again, in His own timing. But nevertheless, we find that we're given the strength to meet those tests if we ask for that help. And we can't ask if we're turning our back to God. You see, the answers may be there all the time, but unless we're facing in the direction of from where those answers are coming, they may just pass us right on by. And we end up in a situation that is suffering indeed, until finally, and we stay there, we stay in that suffering, we feel that pain, till ultimately we must learn, there's only one escape, if you will, or one exit, and that's to turn and face God, face the light. That takes a certain amount of strength, takes courage, but we learn that that's the only answer in the long run. Face God with faith, with courage, and the answers will come. Much joy to all of you.